It's Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022. Welcome to the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Amyler.
Good morning, Michael.
All right, 5 stories in 5 minutes, Sean. Let's get stuck into it, because story number 1 is a pretty big one to kick us off. The local market yesterday fell another 1.2%. It's now back to levels of 2 months ago.
Yes, the sell-off continues with investors very wary of any bad news whatsoever. There's pessimism across the market, and the S&P/ASX 200 finished at 7,121 points yesterday. It's now down 6% off its most recent highs of a few weeks back. Remember, Michael, a drop of 10% is considered a bear market. Not there yet, but uncomfortably close, I'd say. Rising inflation and interest rates, the war in Europe, sky-high energy and commodity prices, and fears about the cost of living, not just in Australia, but in most developed nations, is hurting. And some sectors that have held up stock markets over the past couple of years, notably tech and healthcare, are struggling to find friends as interest rates rise. A bunch of stocks have hit 12-month lows over the past week. Yesterday it was a turn of Aristocrat Leisure, Harvey Norman, Plumbing Group, Reece and Star Entertainment. Is there any good news? Well, maybe the sell-off's overdone. That often happens. And Wall Street and European markets are very fickle at the moment. The good news, I suppose, is that bond yields are rising. An investor can get a risk-free 10-year bond yield at about 3.5%. That's not bad. Finally, bonds look like being a decent investment again.
All right, on to story number 2, Sean. And I like talking about the banks because the numbers are always pretty big. And Westpac was the latest big bank to announce its half-year earnings, saying it made $3.1 billion in the last half year. Investors certainly liked it, sending Westpac's share price up 3.3%.
The bottom line was much better than some people had expected. Westpac managed to cut costs and had lower bad debts, but its profit margins are being squeezed. It's doing well in business banking. It's doing well in institutional banking. That's with the really big customers. Not so well in consumer banking, and that's on the back of tough competition in the mortgage market. Westpac announced a higher dividend than expected. People love that. It's now yielding about 5%, which is actually well above what you'd get on a term deposit. Cost cutting is a major focus at Westpac, like all the banks. Over the half year to the end of March, more than 4,000 staff lost their jobs and 70 branches were closed. An interesting measure used by the banks is average revenue per employee. At Westpac, it's $250,000. That's after the job cuts. At Commonwealth Bank, it's $545,000.
That is a huge difference between the two of them. Sean, story number 3, we are heading towards the final stretch now of the election campaign, and the promises are getting bigger, and of course, along with that, they're getting more expensive.
Yeah, they sure are. I mean, yesterday, Labor promised $200 million to upgrade Flinders Medical Centre in the marginal Liberal seat of Boothby in South Australia. The state Labor government said it would match the pledge. That's $400 million. Mr Albanese also promised to have a full employment summit. Prime Minister Scott Morrison kept up campaigning on economic management. His big announcement yesterday was $8 billion to be allocated towards helicopters as part of the coalition's Safe and Secure Australia policy. He made the announcement in the seat of Gilmore on the New South Wales South Coast, which is held by Labor with a very slim majority. And before I leave politics, Michael, 950,000 viewers watched the big debate on Sunday night on the Nine Network. The network called it a draw, and there were mixed responses about whether the debate was too emotional. But perhaps most telling was The Voice and Lego Masters beat it in the ratings.
Sean, story number 4. I think we all like Mexican food. I think we can all accept that. Even if you do tend to pronounce certain words unusually. How do you pronounce those ones, the little hard shell kind of things with the...
Tacos.
Oh, yeah, you got it right. Okay, that's great. Look, Magellan Financial Group, which has had a pretty tough time of it lately, has sold its interest in Mexican fast food franchise Guzman y Gomez. This story, it just doesn't seem like a very natural fit for a fund manager, does it?
No, I wonder why Magellan was ever in Guzman anyway. I don't know. But look, in any case, Chair Hamish McLennan yesterday said the sale shows the group's confidence in its strategy to focus on core funds management. Perhaps it wants to get rid of stuff that it shouldn't be in to begin with. Magellan will receive $140 million for the 11.6% stake in Guzman y Gomez. That means that Guzman y Gomez is worth well over $1 billion. Not bad. Magellan's share price fell 9% on the news yesterday. It had been performing better in recent weeks, having lost 75% in value since last June.
All right, last one. Story number 5, Sean. Filipinos began voting yesterday in a national election that pits the offspring of 2 of their leading political dynasties against a progressive candidate.
Yes, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., better known as Bong Bong, and his running mate Sara Duterte, the daughter of the current leader, hold a commanding lead over their rival Leni Robredo, the incumbent vice president. A win for Marcos would mark the political rehabilitation of the family that presided over one of Asia's most notorious dictatorships. And it would continue the reign of the Duterte family. Current leader Roberto Duterte is a very controversial, hardline figure, not always appreciated by the West, shall we say. Anyway, the Marcoses and the Dutertes look like they'll be in power for a little while yet.
All right, that's it. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Tuesday, the 10th of May, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, then you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed on your podcast platform. And if you're a business owner wanting to talk directly to thousands of people interested in finance business news, then why not get in touch? Head to fearandgreed.com.au and drop us a line. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.